You've spent hours building something, every wall placed with care, every field planned for the best yield, every path connecting your little settlement just the way you imagined it. And then it's gone. Raiders, a storm, one bad decision that sent everything spiraling. For a moment, you just stare at the screen. All that time, all that effort. But here's the strange thing. You don't quit. You don't close the game. You hit restart, and somehow, you're excited again. Why? Why does failure in a game feel so different from failure everywhere else? That's what we're exploring today. Think about the last time you failed at something in real life. A project at work, a relationship, a plan that didn't come together. It stings. It lingers. Sometimes for weeks. Now think about the last time you failed in a game. Your base got destroyed. Your crops withered. Your carefully planned settlement fell apart because you forgot one small detail. It doesn't sting the same way. And there's a reason for that. Games create what psychologists call a safe failure space. The stakes feel real enough to care, but not real enough to break you. You lose progress. You don't lose your job. You lose resources. You don't lose your reputation. And that changes everything about how your brain processes the experience. Instead of shame, you feel curiosity. Instead of "I'm not good enough," you think, "What if I try it differently?" That subtle shift from judgment to curiosity is one of the most powerful things games quietly teach us. There's a button in almost every game ever made. New game. Restart. Try again. And we press it without hesitation. No drama. No existential crisis. Just, let's go again. Think about how radical that is. In the real world, starting over carries weight. It feels like admitting defeat. Society tells us that progress should be linear, always forward, always up. But games tell a completely different story. They say, starting over is not going backward. It's going forward with knowledge you didn't have before. The second time you build your village, you know where to place the walls. You know which resources to prioritize. You know the mistakes, and you build around them. Every restart is a shortcut disguised as a setback. And the players who understand this, the ones who embrace the restart instead of dreading it, they're the ones who eventually build something extraordinary. What if we treated real life the same way? Not as a single attempt that has to be perfect, but as an ongoing series of builds, each one a little smarter than the last. School teaches you with textbooks. Work teaches you with deadlines. But games teach you with consequences. You place a building in the wrong spot, and your entire supply chain breaks. You ignore a threat, and your settlement pays the price. You rush when you should have waited, and everything collapses. No teacher explained what went wrong. No manual highlighted the right answer. You just figured it out. Through trying, through failing, through paying attention. This is called iterative learning. And it might be the purest form of education that exists. Here's why it works so well. There's no judgment, no grade, no one watching over your shoulder. Just you, the problem, and the freedom to try 100 different solutions until one clicks. And when it finally clicks, when you solve that puzzle that's been frustrating you for hours, the satisfaction is unmatched because you didn't just learn the answer, you discovered it, you earned it. Games don't hand you wisdom, they let you stumble into it. And that makes it stick in a way that no lecture ever could. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Because everything we've talked about so far, the safe failure, the restarts, the silent learning, all of that leads to something bigger. Something most players never consciously realize. We live in a world obsessed with perfection. Perfect homes on social media, perfect careers on LinkedIn, perfect lives that don't actually exist. And yet, when we sit down to play a building game, a survival game, a simulation, we don't expect perfection. Not at first. We accept that the first house will be ugly. The first farm will be inefficient. The first attempt at anything will be rough around the edges. And that's fine. That's part of the process. In games, we naturally understand something that we forget in daily life. Good enough today is better than perfect never. You build the crooked house because you need shelter tonight. You plant the messy farm because you need food this season. And later, when you have more resources, more knowledge, more time, you improve, you optimize, you refine. Patience over perfection. It's a philosophy that games teach without ever saying a word. You don't need to be great at the start. You just need to start. And then keep going. The irony is beautiful. In a medium often criticized for promoting impatience and instant gratification, the most rewarding gaming experiences are the ones that demand the exact opposite. Look at any settlement you've ever built in a game. Really look at it. The walls aren't perfectly aligned. The paths twist in odd directions because you added them after the buildings were already there. There's that one storage hut you placed in a terrible spot early on, but now it's surrounded by other structures and you can't move it without tearing everything apart. It's messy, it's imperfect, and it's beautiful because every flaw tells a story. That crooked wall? That's from your first night, when you were desperate for shelter and didn't know the building system yet. That winding path, that's the workaround you invented when you realized your original layout didn't work. Your imperfect build is a map of everything you've learned. And here's the thing, the most memorable bases, the most beloved settlements, the most iconic gaming creations, they're rarely the ones built with mathematical precision. They're the ones that grew organically, the ones that evolved, the ones that carry the fingerprints of every mistake and every correction along the way. There's a Japanese philosophy called wabi-sabi, the beauty of imperfection, of impermanence, of things that are incomplete. It celebrates the cracks, the asymmetry, the passage of time visible in every surface. Your game builds are wabi-sabi. And maybe your life is too. Every scar, every detour, every plan that didn't work out the way you hoped, they're not flaws. They're your story. So what is it that games really give us beneath the surface? They give us permission. Permission to fail without shame. Permission to start over without judgment. Permission to be imperfect without apology. In a world that often demands we get everything right the first time, games gently whisper, "It's okay. Try again. You'll get further this time." And for some of us, especially those of us who've been around long enough to know that life doesn't always offer second chances, that permission is more valuable than any high score or achievement. Games don't just entertain us. They remind us of something we knew as children, but slowly forgot. That learning is supposed to be messy. That growth is supposed to be uncomfortable. That the joy is in the building, not just the finished product. Every game over screen is not an ending. It's a question. What will you do differently this time? And every time you answer that question, every time you pick up the pieces and start placing walls again, You're practicing something that goes far beyond gaming. You're practicing resilience. You're practicing patience. You're practicing the quiet, stubborn belief that you can build something worth building. So the next time everything falls apart, in a game or anywhere else, remember this: you've rebuilt before. You'll rebuild again. And this time, you know exactly where to put the walls. See you in the next one.